You're listening to Country Music Junkies, hosted by Patrice Whiffen. This week on Country Music Junkies, I'm so pleased to be chatting with Austin Jenckes. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Patrice?
Really great, thank you. And I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us. I know things are incredibly busy with your new album, new single, all that sort of stuff going on. Let's kind of take our listeners back a little bit and describe your sound, your style of music. It's kind of got that cool bluegrass country vibe, but how would you describe it if someone was asking?
No, I love that. I grew up in the Seattle area, and I moved to Nashville 8 years ago, and so musically, like I grew up on a lot of classic rock, southern rock, and I grew up singing in church, so a lot of just like soul and blues and bluegrass. I think was kind of something that maybe just was happenstance. You know, I listened to a lot of Bon Iver and another band called Need to Breathe, and then into like Eric Church and Chris Stapleton and stuff like that. So for me, I would just describe it as like, you know, soulful, kind of bluesy country. But I don't know. I've had all kinds of hashtag/slogans over the years, and it seems to always be changing and morphing.
That's okay, though. I feel like that's a good thing almost. It's cool that you have so many eclectic mixes in your sound that it's almost hard to define you, which is really cool because, I mean, the genre is ever changing. Let's first talk about the new single, Fat Kid. What's the story behind that for those who haven't heard it?
Basically, it's like an biographical piece that I didn't actually write,
Okay.
which is pretty funny.
There you go.
So my roommate at the time, it's the only song on the record that I didn't write, and but my roommate at the time was going up to write with Lori McKenna and Andrew Dorff, who are both, all of them are amazing songwriters, and he just sent me a text, with a little MP3 that said Fat Kid, and this was a few years ago, and I, heard it and immediately kind of started learning the words and playing it at my shows. And for me, I've just always wanted to find that song that talked about what it was like for me growing up, because it was a little different. Like growing up in the Northwest, and I grew up in a small town, but it was, only 30, 40 minutes from downtown Seattle.
Right.
And that part of the country is just very different, And like one story that I always like to tell is like I did the morning announcements in high school, but when I had to do like the sports recap, we weren't allowed to say like "Under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance up there, just because we didn't want to offend anybody.
Right.
But like I did it one time, and I remember there was a bunch of phone calls, from parents and stuff like that, and it's just kind of the lay of the land up there. It's very multicultural and focused on making sure that everybody's being, accepted and respected. But it's just so different than a lot of people, So when I moved to Nashville and was writing songs about growing up in a small town, I found myself, either trying to sound like I was telling somebody else's story, or, I would tell my story, but it seemed to be maybe a little too specific. And so when I heard that song, it just like clicked. It talks
Right.
about smoking pot, and it talks about listening to Leonard Skinner, and and obviously being kind of the misfit at times and stuff like that. So
Right.
that's the backstory on that.
That is really cool. Well, be sure to check out that single. You can head to Austin's website and check that out. Now, let's also talk, of course, about the new record. If you grew up like I did, what are the influences on that record? What can fans expect? The stories that you're telling, are they similar to Fat Kid?
They are similar. I mean, it has all the things that you would want from, a country record. It talks about, growing up and drinking beer and playing sports and all that stuff. But it also has just like a little bit more element of, I think, life and loss, and, feeling like, there's something missing. I think for me, I like to sit in my truck and drive and listen to music and kind of catch up on me time.
Right.
And I think that's what this record is for.
Amazing. Well, fans, you can check that out at austinjenckes.com. We'll include a link in the posting of this interview as well. Austin, what's next for you? A busy summer?
Yeah, the CMA Fest is starting. I just got home yesterday from London. I was over there for a week.
Wow.
And it was the first time I played a show there. And so got to see my wife and my daughter. She's actually in the truck with me right now.
Oh.
But I have CMA Fest this week. Got about 4 shows in town. And then next week I'm making my Grand Ole Opry debut on June 15th.
That's amazing.
Which I'm pretty stoked about that, and then a handful of festival shows and a couple dates with Leonard Skinner this summer, which I'm really pumped about because I'm a super fan.
Of course.
Yeah, it's gonna be busy.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you got a lot on the go, so thank you again so much for your time today. Fans, head to austinjenckes.com, find him on social media, check out the new single Fat Kid, and of course the new record If You Grew Up Like I Did. Austin, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.